Hello, everybody, and welcome to another stream here. Today, I'm going to share some really good books with you that I have had that is important to me, that I think is important to anybody who reads them, and also a few of my favorite books. So, but first, I want to if you are listening to this on YouTube, please click the subscribe button and like the video, because that way there will be a lot more people watching the videos that I put out, and I would love to get out to some more people. If you are listening to this on Facebook, of course, you can then go to the YouTube channel and subscribe. If you're also listening to this on YouTube and you want to be a part of my Journey Navigation community, you can do that as well. The link that you see here is in the description below. So without further ado, let's get on with these book recommendations I have for you today. The first ones are going to be ones that are about building your awareness in some respects. The first one is going to be this one, Power versus Force by David Hawkins. He is by many, I think, considered an enlightened master. He or is living in a state of enlightenment, or whatever you want to call that state. This book is very interesting because he goes through how you can calibrate. I don't know if you've seen people, you have their arm out and you can calibrate. If you say something negative or positive, you can calibrate how the energetic response and so on. And he lays that out, how that is being used. He also lays out the many levels of consciousness. And I'm not going to go into too much depth about this. Maybe I could do that in another video. But there's levels of consciousness. And when you begin to understand that, you begin to understand or focus on maybe the vibration that you want to focus on a lot. So I definitely recommend reading this one. It is very interesting. And if you're a writer or a creator, it's also very interesting when it comes to words. He has I don't know how many words, maybe hundreds of words, I think, listed, and the difference between the words that has power and the words that has force. So powerful words like love and humility and so on, and then other words probably is like manipulation or I don't know. I don't remember all of them, but there's some really good interesting ones in there. So if you're a writer and want to write something positive, it can make sense to look in this book, because you will then begin to focus on using the words that has the most positive power. So it's a good one. The next one is going to be looking a little religious, but it is not. It is about faith. It is a very easy read. I can give you a little bit of a look here of the pages. Very easy to read. And the whole book is about faith. Almost every line has the word faith in it. And it really is about not having faith as a religion or as a belief, but having faith in yourself, having faith in life. What is interesting is that we have a lot of faith in people around us all the time. We have faith in that if we order something, it gets to our door. If we go to the hairdresser, they don't just mess up our hair and cut it the way they want. They cut it the way we want. We have faith in that, right? And we have faith in many things when it comes to things in our society in terms of services and so on, right? But faith is also very important when it comes to really having faith in life, in trusting that things will work out. If you have listened to some of my videos in the last couple of months, I have focused on this stickman concept, and a lot of the material in that is really understanding or studying that to eventually create a faith-based understanding, so that you are trusting what is to come, trusting what is ahead in a faithful way, so that you are just, when you're believing or dreaming about something, you are not hoping that it will happen. You have faith that it will happen. And there's a big distinction between those two. Hope is, of course, a positive thing, but I think it's on a very low scale when it comes to living the life you want, and just and so on. And faith is a very, very high vibration. It has a really high vibration. And we felt some sort of faith in your life. I'm sure you have at certain times. You just have a conviction that things will happen, right? And when you have that, there is no doubt, there is no worry, there is no confusion, there is no really destructive things happening. You just have such powerful energy in you. And I think this book is just really, really, really nice to listen or to read, because it really establishes the understanding of what faith really means. And I think that is a really good one to read. It is called God Works Through Faith, and it is written by Dr. Robert A. Russell. So that's the second book I would recommend. And then we have a classic here as the third one. I'm sure you have, if you've been in the environment of personal and spiritual development for a period of time, you may have encountered this one, Think and Grow Rich. I think the really the best thing about this book is that it is something that will never die. It's almost, I would say, it's almost like the Bible. But what is really cool is that the whole book is in 13 chapters, and those 13 chapters has some profound information. And this is one of the books that I would recommend to have, so you can always just sit down and read a chapter or read something of it, because it is just very, very powerful. Let me quickly go through the chapters here. I think there's yeah. Or there's 13 principles. The first one is desire. So he goes into depth about desire. And also, if you don't know Napoleon Hill, he was, I believe he was a journalist, and he got an opportunity to, through Dale Carnegie, which was looked at as one of the richest men in the world at the time, in the early 1900s, it must have been. And Dale Carnegie wanted or Andrew Carnegie, I think his name was, he wanted to save all the wisdom that he had built up, because he was a billionaire. He knew all the billionaires around, right? All the people who have made a big difference in our world, and he had connections to all of these people. And Napoleon Hill, he was given the opportunity through him to write a book or books, so that all the wisdom that they had through all that they had learned and accomplished would be saved forever. So he went around to people for 20 years or something to interview Henry Ford and many of those well-known people, Edison and who knows, everybody. And they're all listed in here. And he went around and he interviewed all these people and took all that content, information, and whatever, and put it into this book. And I think that if you read it with the purpose of learning and understanding yourself and how you can get things done, how you can make things happen, then this is a powerful, powerful book, because it has so many amazing concepts in it. But I'm just going to run through those because I think it will make sense if you are considering getting it. The first one is desire. The second one is, funny enough, faith that we just talked about. Then it's autosuggestion, and I'm going to get back to that in one of the next books I'm going to cover here. Then we have specialized knowledge. So that is typically specialized knowledge from people that maybe know more than you do about a certain thing. Then we have imagination, and if you've seen my videos, you would have seen that imagination is so powerful and important to understand, because when we begin to use that, we can dream and can create anything we want, and that's really one of the most powerful intellectual faculties that we have. Then we have organized planning. That kind of makes sense. Then we have decision. And decision is one of the very, very important things that lessons that I would recommend looking into, because we don't know what a decision is in our society. No one has taught us what it means and how you make a decision and how important it is. So we need to learn that ourselves or go to people who really know. Then we have persistence. And persistence is just, in short, keep going, right? Keep going, never let anything stop you. And then we have power of the mastermind. And I've actually just started a mastermind group. And that's going to be one of the most powerful things I think I will do in the next period of time, because it puts 6 people together. We have 6 people in our group. and then you are connected to five. For me, I have now connections to 5 other people's networks, right? And they have access to mine. And so we all have different experiences, we have different focuses, and so on. And it shares how important that is. And then we have the subconscious mind and the brain, the sixth sense, which is, I think, the intuition and so on. So there's a lot of good content in here. So recommend it for sure. Then we have a very similar book, one I'm actually listening to every single morning all the way through. That's an audiobook, The Science of Getting Rich. It is a very practical book, and it's a book that doesn't really, it doesn't analyze things. It doesn't put anything. There's a reason why it's called The Science of Getting Rich. It is really like, that's how it works. That's how it is. So in some sense, you can call it radical, because it doesn't say that, it just say that if you do this, you'll get rich or wealthy. So it's a very short book, which makes it easy to read as well. And as I said, I'm listening through it every single morning these days, because it's not about getting rich. It's about what you can get through that, or also what you can give through that, and what you will accomplish through that, and how you will grow through accomplishing anything. So definitely recommend this. And I think these two, they kind of go together. Then we have the one that I think is one of the books that should be talked about more. I mean, it has sold millions of copies, but that is this one, The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. It is an exceptional book, it is written in a way where the first part, let's see here, the first 7 chapters is, here. The first 7 chapters is a story from very way back in the day in the Middle East somewhere, and a story about somebody who wants to become a good salesman, right? But the book is masterly written because it is made to get you to learn and to study every single day and throughout the day. So the last 10 chapters are meant to be read in the morning, after you've eaten lunch, and before you go to bed. And each chapter has to be read those 3 times a day for 30 days. So I do it throughout 1 month, and then I started the second chapter today, or the 9th chapter, but the second part of the 10 chapters, and you then read that 3 times through a day. And again, it's very important when we talk about learning something, we need to continue to read and study, and we need to repeat all the time. That's the only way we can get it ingrained in our mind, first of all, but also, as he says in this first of these 10 chapters, when we read something over and over again, first of all, we will see something we didn't see before, because we are growing with the book. So we will see more and more of the whole thing, because we are growing at the same time. And the more we grow and the more we learn through this, more will seep into our subconscious mind, which he calls the mysterious mind, and which I call the paradigm of the subconscious. And that's where we get emotionally involved with whatever it is, right? And if you've seen any of my videos, you will understand that our emotions govern our behavior. So the vibration that you're in will govern your behavior. So this is going through some very key things in life. Of course, I don't know all of it yet, because I've only read the first, and now I'm started on the second chapter that I'll be reading every day, 3 times a day. But the first chapter is actually about getting into good habits and become slaves to good habits, and really make sure that you have good habits in your life. The second one is focused on love, that you see everything and everybody with an intent for loving them as who they are, right? And give them love through, your eyes and how you see them. And that's, of course, a challenge, because we are met with everyday life and so on. But as the first rule established, it's to become a slave to good habits. And when you're a slave to good habits like this one, and you read about love every day, of course, that will seep into your subconscious mind. And since that governs our behavior, well, then we we can make better choices and give more to the people around us. So the next book, or the next 4 books I'm going to share, one of them I don't have physically with me, but I have read it a bunch of times. It is this one, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. That is one of my all-time favorite books. I think I've read it 5 or 6 times or something. It is a phenomenal book, and I really recommend reading that. Dan Millman, I've also met him. He's a really great guy, an amazing author, and a very humble human being. And he's written 4 books that is together with this one. So there's one before this, and there's 2 after this one. And their most recent one came out 3 or 4 years ago, I think. But I really recommend this one. It's a really fun read, and it's really inspirational because it is a student-teacher relationship that you follow. So you follow Dan as who he is, fictionalized. He's a real character in life, but he's also there in life, and you just follow him learning through the teacher that he finds in this gas station. And apparently, he said that it was true that this guy that he met in the book is a real human being, but he has now revealed that it wasn't. So that is a bit of interesting. So you can take that however you want. But this is a really powerful book, a powerful book. It's an amazing read. So if you get the chance, it's also quite easy to read. And I think the reason why it's comfortable to read and you can read it fast is because that it is a student-teacher questions answer. What do you say? Way that it's been written. So it makes it fun to read, and so I really like this book and have read it so many times, and I will definitely recommend you getting it as well. But now I'm gonna share my favorite book with you. So that is actually my one-time favorite book, and this is Shantaram. It is an amazing book. Let me read the first page here, which is a page that I haven't found in other copies that I've seen, but this is the conclusion to everything. Gregory David Roberts was born in Melbourne. While still an honors student at the university, he was a published author, actor, playwright, political activist, and charity coordinator. When his marriage broke up and he lost custody of his 5-year-old daughter, he turned to drugs. After almost 3 years as a heroin addict, he committed a series of armed robberies, armed with a toy pistol. He was so polite and apologetic during the robberies that the press dubbed him as the gentleman bandit. When he was captured, he was sentenced to 19 years in prison. After 2.5 years of that sentence, during which he was tortured by prison guards, he escaped over the front wall of the maximum security prison in broad daylight and between 2 gun towers. He then spent 10 years on the run, often listed as Australia's most wanted man. He spent 8 years of his fugitive years in Bombay in India, where he established a free medical clinic for slum dwellers and worked as a counterfeiter, smuggler, gun runner, and street soldier for a branch of the Bombay Mafia, as well as acting in Bollywood movies, working as a stuntman in Germany, and fronting a successful rock band as a singer-songwriter. Recaptured in Germany in 1991, he taught himself to read and write German and won several legal battles against the Australian Attorney General in the German High Court. After winning important concessions, he was extradited to Australia, where he spent 2 years in solitary confinement and then served out the remaining 5.5 years of his sentence. Upon his release in 1997, he established a successful multimedia company. Gregory David Roberts is now a full-time writer, film producer, and international public speaker. He lives in Bombay, it says here, but I know he doesn't live there anymore. And he's established a charitable trust to care for the poorest of the poor slum dwellers. This book is a phenomenal read. And the reason why is that, first of all, he is such a phenomenal writer. He puts his real experiences into a fictional tale. In some sense, he has created all these amazing characters, and they are all coming together because they are all trying to escape their where they come from. So it's all everybody is from outside of India, and they're there because they're all in exile. And it's just a phenomenal read, and it has so much, truth, and has so much pure and honest things in it, because Gregory is very honest. He is truthful, and that is what has drawn me to him and his writing, because he is the way he is. And you can see that through the book. The book is about amazing experiences. It's very descriptive. It is written. There's a lot of philosophy. There's love, relationships. There's drama, of course, and violence and all these things with the mafia and all this. So there's so many interesting aspects of this book that shines through and makes it an amazing story. So I recommend this very much. And it's a big read, of course, but it's a phenomenal book. And I am fortunate enough to have him actually help me with my book. So anyways, the second one is called The Mountain Shadow, and that's the sequel to Shantaram, also by Gregor David Roberts. And I want to share these because he's a phenomenal human being, and even though he doesn't need my help, I want to share these anyways. But I recommend these two books. They are very big, but amazing story. And the sequel is a continuation of the exile life and how how the character in the Shantaram continues. So I'll recommend those. And then he has come out with a new book in the late part of last year, The Spiritual Path. See, there's an interesting story. In 2018, in 2018, I listed a whole bunch of things that I wanted to accomplish, to experience, to try, to learn, whatever, all these things. And one of the things was that I wanted to have dinner with Gregor David Roberts, or I like to call him Shantaram. But he was in a spiritual seclusion. He was actually doing what this book is about, because this is a descriptive experience of his experience being in spiritual seclusion for 6 years, I think it was. And he chose, after he finished the second book in 2014-15, to go into spiritual seclusion. And he did that because he needed it for many reasons. In 2018, he was no longer in public life. He had completely gone offline, and there was no way to connect with him. And even though that was the case, I still had a vision and a goal and a dream that I want to meet him and have dinner with him and get to know him, because he has meant a lot to me. And I don't know if it's just my intuition or whatever it was at the time, or after I've read these books, but he spoke to me in a very profound way. I've always been a truth seeker, and the way he has experienced life, he has been in such broad and such extreme, extreme areas of life. He's been tortured, he's been in jail, he has had profound insights when it comes to spiritual environments, and he's an amazing writer and actor and an artist and all these things. So there's so many things that is in his life, and that also makes him have a very objective and I think not because he is superior, but he has so much experience, and he has encountered so many crazy and extreme things in his life that he can share things that other people can't, because he has gone through those. And that's what has spoken to me, I think, most of all. But if you have known or followed me for a while, you would know that in 2020 I started to walk a long walk from Denmark to the northwest of Spain, and that took me 5 months. And during the early part of that trip, I saw that he came back online. I saw that he began to make music, and he put it up on YouTube. And I was either the first one or one of the first ones to subscribe to his YouTube channel. And not long after, I was surprised happily surprised that his assistant wrote me a message online thanking me for doing so. And at that time, and at that point, I just knew, yes, now I am able to at least get to closer to having this dinner with him at some point. Um, what I didn't know was that, first of all, I didn't know how my whole trip was going to be or end or whatever. But at the very end, I had continued to stay in touch with his assistant, and she was following me. And what I didn't know at the time was that she, of course, talked to him about this. And after my walk had finished, I found out that he actually wanted to talk to me. He wanted to talk to me about this, and he couldn't understand that it was possible, or it blew his mind, at least is what he said. And that meant that when I saw that you could apply for a grant to get help with your writing in terms of funds, I did so. And he is now my mentor, which is pretty phenomenal. So I've talked to him several times. I'm going to travel to Jamaica soon to meet him and to get going with my book, and he's going to help me. So that's an amazing story, I think, most of all. But it's funny how his life and my life has sort of come together during his spiritual seclusion, as well as my own spiritual walk through Europe. So I really recommend his books and who he is. Follow him on YouTube. You can find him by just writing out his name, Gregory David Roberts, on YouTube, and you can find him. And so I'm really fascinated by him and who he is. So that was the books I wanted to share with you today. All these and the 3 that I just shared with you. So that is all for today. If you are on YouTube, please subscribe and like this video so more people can get familiar with these authors and content. And if you're on YouTube and want to be a part of my journey navigation community, you can do so by clicking the link below in the description. So without further ado, thank you very much for listening and for all the time you have given me. I hope that this brought you value. If I can do something better, please let me know in the comments, and feel free to reach out if you are in need of asking questions or whatever it is I can do to help. I'm here to support you on your life journey. And if you would be interested, I'm going to start a program, 6 months program in July for people who want to change and transform their life completely. So if you're interested in that, please reach out and then we will get going with that. So without further ado, be well and safe on your unique journey. Until then, ciao. To discover your own unique journey, you have to follow your own heart.